Hello and welcome to another episode of Roske on Politics. These folks are running in the Alive and Running event. This is the 18th one they've ever done. This isn't quite so much about politics this episode, but this week is National Mental Illness Awareness Week. And this event is specifically about suicide prevention. It's an issue that doesn't get as much of the spotlight as I think it should. So we'll be talking about campaigns and candidates in next week's episode, but I came here to chat with three-time Olympian Susie Favor Hamilton. She's a best-selling author, a New York Times best-selling author. She wrote a book called Fast Girl, not only about her running career, but also about her personal challenges with not only bipolar depression, but sadly her brother's own suicide. I chatted with her and then started meeting some other folks here today, including the co-chairs of this event, the CEO of the Didi Hirsch Suicide Prevention Center, and some other folks sharing their personal stories with this important and tragic issue. So a little bit different than normal politics this week on the show. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll have that and so much more on another exciting episode of Roske on Politics.
We will become a rich and great nation again. Thank you. Great honor.
We have the top 1/10 of 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 90%.
What did the Iranian mullahs conclude? Keep negotiating. And that's what they did.
The things that I've been concerned about in this nation for the last few years have not changed.
We're chatting with Chief National Correspondent for the New York Times Magazine, Mark Leibovich, and Governor Bobby Jindal.
Thank you for having my wife in your beautiful home.
U.S. Senator Joni Ernst.
Well, hop on the back.
I got my own. I ride. This is not just a prop today. Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard.
Aloha.
Aloha.
To you and to your viewers.
State Senator Maria Chappelle-Nadal. Senator Tom Harkin.
And sometimes you don't even have to win the caucuses. If you come in a good second or third and no one expected it, that gives you a boost.
Governor Terry Branstad, Rick Klein, someone who's been on the show several times, Congressman David Young, the D.C. Shadow Senator Paul Strauss.
Any candidate who is seeking to earn the awesome and sacred trust of the presidency of the United States has to come and engage with the people of Iowa.
Governor Mike Huckabee, Mr. Newt Gingrich, the highest-ranking Democrat in the state of Iowa, Congressman Dave Loebsack, John Huntsman, Senator Joe Lieberman, Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Chuck Grassley.
I haven't eaten anything other than fried Snickers. Can't describe it. It's just like going to heaven.
We need to push back to the RNC. This is a dumb way to do it. At the end of the day, Brad Pitt would be in our debate.
I think it's important because it's the first contest.
A potential Clinton Castro ticket.
Whoever the nominee is gets to pick who their vice president's going to be.
Welcome back to the program. We just jogged up here a little bit because I saw this family walking, and this is Blanca. You're holding a photograph. Whose photograph is this?
This is my brother, Juan Manuel Alvarez. He served in the U.S. Army.
And you are walking for your brother's passing. When did he pass away?
He passed away September 24th, 2011.
And how did you come to this event?
I received a letter in the mail advertising that they were going to do this walk, and I thought this was something healthy that we can do and share our experience with everybody, with a lot of other people who have experienced similar situation. It's a very tragic and painful situation, and to see so many people involved and people who have been through such pain, it helps us cope a little bit more.
And Blanca, it looks like the whole family's here. How many folks are here today?
We're running, 20 deep? About 20 deep today, so yes.
So when your brother sadly passed away, was it the Didi Hirsch group that you went to, or how did you start to learn about this illness? I
actually did attend the Didi Hirsch groups, and that's how I came to know about Didi Hirsch. Through my job, they referred me to a mental health program, but they weren't able to meet my needs. So they referred me to Didi Hirsch, and it was exactly what I was looking for.
One of the things of chatting today, folks have talked about working through the challenges and the shame of this happening to either someone they know, someone they love. Talk about that. It looks like you've got some great support here today.
We do, and actually we've supported each other throughout this whole process, and it is very difficult. When my brother first passed away, there is a lot of taboo and stigma behind suicide, but it's a choice that the person takes, and this is something that we have to accept and move forward with. And it was difficult in the beginning, but we have each other and we supported each other through the process, and we're still here.
And finally, if someone's watching and they think they need some assistance, what should they be doing?
Just reach out to people, that they're not alone and they are loved, and talk. Just talk.
This is what are you guys going by? Team Alvarez? Is that you guys?
Our team is Team Alvarez. It was a band that my brother and my dad and my older brother had going, so we decided to honor that with naming our team Alvarez.
So your brother was a musician. Tell me about your brother.
He was a musician, an artist, a family man, loved his country, obviously served, and he was just a great man to know, and everybody who knew him, he left an impression on everybody who met him and knew him.
Welcome back to Roske on Politics. So there are some folks you hear about that perform in the Olympics. We obviously just had the Rio Olympics. This person ran in not one, not two, but 3 Olympics, which is incredibly impressive. But what we're here today is a very serious issue that you've had some background with. This is Susie Favor Hamilton. You wrote a book called Fast Girl. Why don't you tell us what it's about?
You know, I wrote this book. I actually was misdiagnosed for depression, and we didn't know at the time that I was bipolar. I was given an antidepressant that set me off in a very manic mode, delusional. It was a very crazy time in my life. The behaviors that I was demonstrating were ruining my life, ruining my family's life. It was just spiraling out of control. So my book is about a woman who is going through a terrible time in her life and discovers she's bipolar. And I talk about all the things that led up to getting me to the places that were going to take my life.
So this event today is a run, but it's called Alive and Running. Talk about community when it comes to suicide prevention. Who are the people that came to your aid, and what were the tools that you used to get out of your spiral?
You know, I'm very, very fortunate, and sometimes I feel very guilty because I am so fortunate to have the resources that I did. So first of all, I had a husband who was so supportive, and he educated himself on bipolar and mental illness. And I also had great doctors, great medication, support. I had a lot of negative people in my life, and those I had to push away. I had to get rid of the stressors. But I feel because of my story, because of what I've been through, I can help reach out to others.
Now, your brother actually fought with this as well and didn't do so well. Tell us about your brother.
You know, my brother, first of all, was an amazing person, creative, energetic. Everybody loved him. Wow. He went through a very difficult time in his life at age 37 and decided to go off his medications. Medications were keeping his brain alive. And after he went off, about 2 weeks later, he ended up dying by suicide.
Oh my,
and
2 weeks.
2 weeks off the medication. It's so important if we can just stress to people with mental illness to stay on their medication. It's hard though. Many people don't like the effects, and I know firsthand, you know, when I was first going on my medication, it was very tempting to go off.
Wow. Your book is a New York Times bestseller, but the courage and bravery you have shown writing the book, taking that leap into talking about this in a public fashion. Talk about that. I mean, what was that decision like to say, okay, now I'm going to talk about this to maybe help people?
You know, at first I had decided to write the book to get my life back, to explain why I did what I did, explain the behaviors that people don't want to talk about that go with bipolar. I mean, there's one of the major symptoms of bipolar that 50% of people who have the illness suffer from is hypersexuality. Again, it's not talked about. Even doctors don't want to bring it up. Patients don't want to bring it up. So this is something that needs to be talked about. And writing the book was probably the most difficult time for me. I knew that it would hurt some people in my family, and I didn't want to do that, but I had to tell the story at the same time. I had to show people not to feel shame, because shame will kill people. It almost killed me. And I want others to know the behaviors that come with bipolar. You should not feel shame. This is the illness of a brain that is sick.
Welcome back to Roske on Politics. One of my favorite things about having a television program is to be able to chat with folks like this. This is Ted Johnson, one of the smartest guys I know. You work here at Variety Politics. Tell me your title over here.
I'm senior editor of Variety, and I cover the intersection of politics and entertainment.
Yeah, I have gotten to know this person over the last few years. He was kind enough to write about my run for Congress back in the day, and at the conventions, we kind of kept running into each other. So thanks so much for being on the program. Wanted to talk about, as you know, as the viewers know, we just had our first debate, and 84 million people saw it, which is amazing. Interesting about this week, though, it looks like we got Saturday Night Live was going to participate in presidential politics. What's going on?
Well, Saturday Night Live has become such a big part of the political process, and the timing really is kind of fortuitous because their season premiere is on Saturday night, and everyone's expectation is that they're going to do some kind of spoof on this week's debate. And Alec Baldwin is going to be playing Donald Trump. Kate McKinnon will be Hillary Clinton. What's interesting is, I'm sure this skit will be funny, but everyone's kind of wondering what tics, what mannerisms will go into Donald Trump this week, or what will go into Hillary Clinton this week, because it doesn't. I don't think it influences the way that people perceive the race, but it can kind of reinforce. Sure. You saw that back in 2000 when the SNL skits made such a big deal of Al Gore's size. In 2008, it made such a big deal out of. There was this point in one of the debates where John McCain was wandering in the background. This was in a town hall debate. And yeah. They made John McCain that year just kind of wander off in the distance, kind of reinforcing the idea that, well, here's a very old man.
Yeah. I've never seen Alec Baldwin as Trump. Have you seen him do it yet?
No, I haven't.
Yeah,
I have not seen.
Right?
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I bet he's good. I mean, I don't think that they would have made this deal to bring him back. Well, actually, he's never been a cast member of the show, but he's been a frequent host of the show. Yeah. Not knowing, exactly how he's going to perform as Trump.
Yeah, I think this will make maybe Alec's 7th or 8th time hosting, and right now they just posted a teaser up of him putting the eyebrows on and everything, going to look like Trump. So it should be interesting. Back to the actual debate. We're obviously here in the Variety offices, and Ted definitely has his finger on the pulse of entertainment and politics here in Los Angeles. What has the feedback been that you've heard of the folks you've talked to about the debate?
Well, talking to people on the Clinton campaign, Clinton supporters out here, they're very happy with the debate. There was a lot of fretting beforehand that Clinton really had no opportunity to win, in large part because Donald Trump would be graded on a curve. So I think that they're even more pleased by the media reaction to the debate than perhaps the debate itself. There's a lot of Barack Obama supporters here, and I think that a lot of people still don't think that Hillary Clinton can quite match Barack Obama, doesn't have the campaigning skills. She suggested that as much. I think that what they saw out of Hillary Clinton was someone who is very strategic, very prepared, maybe didn't connect quite so much with the audience than Barack Obama would have, but I think they were definitely more pleased that the media seems to have given her a fair shake and didn't grade this as, hey, Donald Trump just showed up and proved his point and he wins. So I think there was a lot of skepticism about the media going into this thing.
what would you advocate, say, at a local or federal government level about improving this issue?
Well, I think sadly Robin Williams' death, I think, took a bit of a mask off what was going on, and people are more willing to talk about the issue now. And if people don't talk about it, they're not going to get treatment. They're not going to seek help. They're not going to help their friends. And I think that for federal and state government, I mean, first of all, helping to fund these lines is important. And second, to
the suicide prevention lines.
Suicide prevention lines, which are all over the country. I mean, we run the oldest one, Didi Hirsch does, but they're all over the country. They're all interconnected. They're all tied in. We do overflow calls from Florida, from New York, from all over the country as they do ours if we're too busy, which we hope we're never too busy, but sometimes it happens. And I think the government, I think the role of the government really is to help provide mental health services starting at an earlier point than crisis. It's the only major illness in this country that really isn't addressed until stage 4 of the illness. Wow. And so we have to go into a before stage 4 mentality and start treating people when symptoms are very small and low, and they can be treated more easily, and then you'll have fewer people at the other end of the funnel who are contemplating suicide. So the suicide part, it's part of a whole package, and the federal government, the state government can help with that by helping with health care, making certain that there is parity in insurance programs. If they're treating physical health, they're also treating mental health because they're interrelated. It's a big issue.
Pamela, you mentioned your own experience. This world touched you personally. Talk about that.
On March 27th of 2012, my sister took her own life, and it is the most excruciating, painful death that any person on the other side can endure. I'm sure for the person themselves, that had to be excruciatingly painful to make that decision. Many people don't talk about suicide, they don't talk about mental illness, and the day my sister died, I said, if I save one person's life, that's my goal. And I probably, without knowing it, have saved many people's lives by being a participant in this walk and raising funds for the Suicide Prevention Center, because literally 70,000 calls are received every year and taken and advised, and talk to people at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., whatever, 2 in the afternoon, whatever time of day. And without raising funds for this amazing organization, those callers wouldn't have anyone on the other end.
You know, Pamela, you mentioned this world came to you suddenly. What were you doing before that?
I was just an average person, and I always was active in giving back, but I never found a passion like this one. And this has become, I wasn't looking for it, it found me, unfortunately, but I didn't want to sit back and let other people go through what I went through. And most importantly, the person thinking of taking their own life, like my sister.
So talk about when you yourself became a part of this community, those first steps. That must be a challenge.
It was. I had the good fortune to meet a man over the phone first. His name's Rick Mogul. He's here. He's actually right there. Survivors After Suicide. He's the director of it. And he answered the phone and, or called me back, I should say. And he was the first person that understood what I was going through, and he told me about his own brother.
The Didi Hirsch Mental Health Services has a suicide prevention center, which is what we're here to support today.
Yeah.
And there's a 24/7 crisis line, so people who are feeling suicidal or people who are concerned about somebody who's suicidal can call the number 1-800-273-8255 and get the support and help that they need. We also do a lot of outreach and education in the community. We try to increase people's awareness about suicide so that they know how to identify somebody at risk and how to help them.
You know, that suicide prevention line she mentioned, last year you took over 70,000 calls, which is amazing. It's very valuable work. Thank you for doing that. An event like today, we're at an event called Alive and Running. Why is an event like today so valuable?
It's valuable because part of our mission at Didi Hirsch is to erase the stigma. And there's so much stigma and shame around suicide when people die by suicide. So we're out here honoring those who have died by suicide, talking about suicide so that people know that there's help out out there and that they don't have to suffer in silence. If they've lost a loved one to suicide, we have support groups for people to help them. We have support groups for people who have attempted suicide, so they know they're not alone and that there's help out there, and there's thousands of people here willing to talk about it and to really make sure that people get connected to services.
You know, you mentioned the shame. Having people come into this world who maybe necessarily didn't want to be a part of it, a loved one maybe took their life. Talk to us about those first steps coming into the community.
Well, I think what people need to know is that we have a very accepting, loving community of survivors. And so when you first lost someone to suicide, it's tough. I mean, there's a lot of grief, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of confusion. Sometimes there's guilt, sometimes there's anger. It just depends for each individual person. And that's what's great about Didi Hirsch, because we have groups that are specific to people who've lost someone to suicide. So they come in a support group and they're able to really talk about it without feeling shame, without having to hide their feelings. They often will connect with another survivor who has had similar feelings or a similar loss, and then before you know it, they're talking about it, which helps them get through the grief. And then after that, they have a network of people that they're able to really connect with long term, because when you lose someone to suicide, it's not over even after you grieve for the first couple of weeks. It changes your life forever.